Tourists at Yellowstone National Park managed to film the terrifying moment when a massive explosion occurred, causing them to flee in fear for their safety. Biscuit Basin, situated in close proximity to Old Faithful, experienced an eruption at approximately 10 in the morning. This event resulted in the expulsion of a substantial column of extremely hot water and debris into the atmosphere. Vlada March, a resident of California, was there at the park with her mother and captured the unfolding tragedy on camera. The footage reveals numerous guests quickly evacuating a boardwalk located dangerously close to a scorching hot spring. Biscuit Basin has been completely closed off by the National Park Service as geologists conduct an investigation into the incident. March posted the video on Facebook, stating that the Biscuit Basin at Yellowstone National Park suddenly erupted right in front of them. They added that the boardwalk has been completely demolished, but their mother was hit with parts of the debris. Fortunately, most of the people in the area were unharmed. Vlada March said they are astonished and deeply appreciative to still be alive. The Californian individual also posted a video of the aftermath, which depicted the wooden boardwalk in fragments and the surrounding area submerged in water. The United States Geological Survey has verified that a minor hydrothermal explosion took place in the Biscuit Basin thermal area. According to the United States Geological Survey, this phenomenon occurs in areas where there are shallow linked reservoirs of fluids that have temperatures close to or at the boiling point, and these reservoirs are located beneath thermal fields. These fluids have the ability to undergo a quick transformation into steam if there is a sudden decrease in pressure. The government also stated that there have been no recorded injuries, although some tourists there reported that they were hit with debris. The National Park Service has reported that today's explosion does not indicate any alteration in the volcanic system as it continues to operate within its usual levels of activity. The United States Geological Survey reiterated the park's statements, affirming that hydrothermal explosions, such as the one that occurred today, are not indicative of imminent volcanic eruptions and are not triggered by the ascent of magma towards the surface. The rangers stated that they are uncertain about the timeline for reopening the boardwalk. This news comes not long after Yellowstone National Park rangers said that the supervolcano, which can be found directly underneath the park, has shown that the volcanic caldera is weakening. A recent study has revealed that the hot, molten rock beneath Yellowstone National Park is significantly larger than previously believed. Scientists estimate that it is approximately 2.5 times larger than earlier estimates. Further investigations indicate that this expansion in size implies that the park's supervolcano has the capacity to erupt with a significantly greater force than previously anticipated. According to Dr. Farrell from the University of Utah, the latest calculations indicate that the Yellowstone supervolcano has the potential to erupt with a magnitude more than 2,000 times greater than that of Mount St. Helens. The scientists received new data indicating that the upcoming eruption would be larger than previously anticipated. Dr. Farrell explained that they utilized seismic waves from recent earthquakes in the area to create a map of the underground magma chamber beneath Yellowstone. Their findings revealed that the magma chamber spans a length of 55 miles or 88 kilometers. Additionally, he stated that this vast chamber extends 4 to 9 miles directly into the ground. He also mentioned that the chamber contains a significant amount of volcanic material, indicating that a future eruption would surpass the magnitude of any past eruptions. According to the United States Geological Survey, the most recent eruption at Yellowstone occurred approximately 640,000 years ago. The region has experienced significant seismic activity and movement of magma within the system. Consequently, some experts believe that an eruption is overdue and could occur imminently. Dr. Farrell, however, disagreed with their views. They assert that the volcano is certain to erupt again, although the exact timing remains unknown. While some scientists concur with these remarks, they emphasize that the absence of an anticipated eruption in the coming weeks does not rule out the possibility of one occurring in the near future. They stress the significance of Yellowstone scientists gathering as much data as possible to ensure optimal preparedness for an eventual eruption. Thomas Knott, a volcanologist at the University of Leicester in the UK, provided his remarks on past volcanic outbursts at Yellowstone. He said, that they have found that deposits previously thought to be from several smaller eruptions are actually massive layers of volcanic material resulting from two previously unidentified supereruptions that occurred approximately 9 to 8 million years ago. The younger of the two, referred to as the Gray's Landing supereruption, ejected molten volcanic glass across an area of 8,800 square miles. The Gray's Landing supereruption, which is the younger of the two, now holds the record as the largest documented occurrence in the entire Snake River Yellowstone volcanic province. This eruption ranks among the 5 most significant volcanic eruptions in history. The occurrence of these 2 recent eruptions increases the overall count of documented Miocene supereruptions in the Yellowstone Snake River volcanic province to 6. Thomas Knott's data reveals a concerning pattern. Supereruptions occur around every 500,000 years. Moreover, he emphasizes that these findings do not significantly contribute to our ability to assess the current risk of another supereruption in Yellowstone. Currently, scientists and researchers lack a comprehensive model to accurately predict the eruption of a supervolcano, according to a study conducted by Cardiff University. Dr. George Cooper, a researcher from the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences at Cardiff University, said that supereruptions can initiate abruptly with a loud explosion and the collapse of the roof of the magma chamber, or they can commence gradually with initial hesitation before escalating into a catastrophic event. In general, volcanic eruptions can occur either as quick, continuous occurrences lasting a few days, or as a series of intermittent episodes that can last for decades. The inherent unpredictability of these events poses a significant obstacle in accurately predicting the timing and manner of future volcanic eruptions. Thomas Knott proceeded by saying that their findings indicate that Yellowstone supereruptions occur approximately once every 1.5 million years. The most recent supereruption occurred 630,000 years ago, indicating that it may take up to 900,000 years until another eruption of similar magnitude happens. Nevertheless, he acknowledges that this approximation lacks accuracy, and it does not imply that an eruption cannot occur earlier. He reiterates the statements previously made by Yellowstone researchers, emphasizing the importance of closely monitoring the data for any alterations in the vicinity of Yellowstone. If any changes are detected, they must be carefully monitored. The eruption of the colossal Yellowstone supervolcano will not only release a substantial quantity of materials from the volcano itself, but also have far-reaching consequences. The eruption of the volcano is expected to generate a substantial amount of force and pressure, which will in turn cause adjacent pockets of magma to be released. These magma pockets will rapidly create shafts that will increase in size as the volcano continues to erupt. Scientists acknowledge that the eruption of one volcano does not cause nearby volcanoes to erupt. However, in the case of a supervolcano eruption, the immense accumulation of forces and materials can result in the formation of a cluster of magma vents nearby. This will give rise to several regular volcanic entities that will also release a significant amount of volcanic materials. Referred to by scientists as a catastrophic supereruption, the force and material that would be ejected from the massive Yellowstone supervolcano, if it were to erupt, would be among one of the largest explosions to ever be recorded on the face of the Earth. When looking at estimated comparisons of this pressure and ejection of magma compared to that of the Mount St. Helens explosion, it appears that the eruption of the Yellowstone supervolcano would be roughly 10,000 times larger in estimated cubic kilometers than that of the eruption at Mount St. Helens. What this essentially translates out to would be the immediate ejection of more than 2,500 cubic kilometers of ash, magma and materials, a size much larger than that of the 0.25 cubic kilometers ejected after the Mount St. Helens eruption. Though the supervolcano isn't expected to cause a massive upheaval of land, rather than that of a large amount of volcanic magma, ash and materials ejected from its focus point and cone, this large amount of pressure being released will still cause a blast wave that can cause damage out past the state of Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. Additionally, the Yellowstone supervolcano lies close to a number of sensitive fault lines all across the west coast. It is believed that this massive amount of pressure released in one moment, coupled with the massive amount of force generated via the supereruption, will create a domino effect of seismic activity that could lead to fault lines completely sliding in opposite directions, causing a number of massive earthquakes all across the west coast. The earthquakes would be some of the largest ever to have been recorded, and would only lead to further damage of roads, highways, cities, and nearby constructions, completely blocking off those affected from reaching the help they would need. The eruption of the massive Yellowstone supervolcano will do much more than just emit a large amount of materials from the volcano itself. It is predicted that the massive amount of force and pressure released by the volcano will trigger other pockets of magma to release nearby, in quick-forming shafts that will grow in size throughout the volcano's eruption. Though scientists are aware of the fact that the eruption of a volcano cannot trigger the eruption of nearby volcanoes, in the event of a supervolcano and its eruption, the incredibly large amount of forces and material buildup will lead to a pocket of nearby magma vents to form, creating a number of normal volcanic entities that will also spew out a large amount of volcanic materials. Though, technically speaking, the Yellowstone supervolcano is not triggering other dormant volcanoes, it will continue to form these vents, which will grow in size and will appear to be similar to that of smaller volcanoes having formed. It is also believed that with a large enough tectonic plate shift caused by the overwhelming seismic activity that will be caused by the forces of eruption behind the supervolcano, a number of larger vents could form along the ridges of the shifting tectonic plates. If these plates shift enough, not only would there be a number of massive earthquakes, but there could be a number of newly formed volcanic entities all along the entire west coast. In essence, this means that the eruption of the Yellowstone supervolcano would lead to a number of following eruptions, newly formed magma vents, and a domino effect of seismic activity that could cause the formation of new active volcanoes all along the entirety of the west coast of the United States, of which will only exacerbate the issues that spawn from ejected material, damage, and spewing ash. Research has found that after the eruption of a supervolcano, it has often been recorded that there tends to be a massive cooling event that occurs around the world. This is due to the fact that the ejection of a large amount of volcanic ash causes a global darkness event, preventing the planet from sufficiently warming up and causing a global ice age. This appears to also have been the case a mere 100,000 years ago, when the Toba super-eruption occurred and nearly drove humanity to extinction. Prior to this event, there was an estimated 1 million human population. After the event took place, there were only 11,000 humans left, of which caused a massive bottleneck effect that allows us to see the time in which such an event took place. Additionally, this rapid death count occurred when the Toba super-eruption caused a global blackout that lasted for more than 10 years. During this time, a massive ice age occurred, and an atmospheric cooling event that lasted for another 1,000 years. Given these calculations, it is expected that if the Yellowstone supervolcano were to erupt in the modern day, the amount of ash spewed would travel through the atmosphere and blot out the sun from all around the world, leading to a modern-day ice age that would prevent the sun from being seen for 6 to 7 years in total, creating a seemingly endless darkness for all life on Earth and record low temperatures never before recorded. One of the main problems with the global cooling event is not that of the drop in temperatures all across the world, but rather that of its effect on crops on a massive global scale. With this expected worldwide blackout, researchers believe that for more than 6 to 7 years, it will be impossible for farmers around the world to grow any kind of produce or grain. This also means that it will also be impossible for farmers to take care of livestock of any kind. Considering the fact that agriculture is the lowest rung on the ladder of economic scale, this would lead to disastrous effects on industry, development, construction efforts, feeding citizens, and the global economy. Essentially, there would be mass starvation all across the world as people raid grocery stores for the last remaining food in the world. Additionally, the blackout will lead to a number of wildlife populations immediately dying out as their habitats become destroyed, meaning that hunting and foraging will become impossible to sustain. Even a number of off-grid living situations would be disastrously affected, as the majority of doomsday preppers living on homesteads rely on local agriculture, solar panels for power, along with a number of other supplies that require their local habitats remaining intact. With these changes, the blackout will reach everywhere around the world, making no place safe enough to withstand such changes. Not only will this lead to riots within the short term, but it will overwhelmingly lead to the shutdown of government, civilization, and order itself. As mass starvation circles the globe, the human population will be expected to drop by an expected 95%, as the most developed countries will be affected the worst and the least developed countries will adapt the fastest. A lack of crops from around the world, the breakdown of infrastructure, inability to travel across damaged roads throughout the United States, as well as the complete 6 to 7 year darkness that would follow the eruption, means that, at the end of these initial damages, the entire world would begin to enter a stage of total economic shutdown. This will first begin at the center of damaged cities and the inability for governments from around the world to offer aid of any kind. As the volcanic ash spreads and brings darkness around the world, it will only take 3 days before all of the grocery stores run empty as the shipping trucks fail to deliver necessary goods. After this occurs, raiding of supplies will quickly begin as the needs of the people from around the world and starvation would begin. This panic will cause the total breakdown of all law and authority as people center around their individual needs. The inability would then quickly follow farmers being unable to grow and harvest crops, along with many crops from around the world immediately dying out. The only chance one would have at outlasting such an event would require them to have created an underground facility of which wouldn't be affected to the large amount of falling ash, the threatening panic of other people fighting for resources, as well as the storage of enough food, water, and supplies to last for 7 years. Considering such a safe room does not exist for most, of which even most doomsday preppers only store enough food for 6 months to a year, outlasting such an event will prove to be impossible.